Isaak Krut of the team Harry Tarantula there in Toronto. Bravo, star of the show, Sasha Markovic. Doesn't know whether it's New Zealand, Australia. What he does know is that he wants to burn this place to the ground on Kano.
Yeah, and I'm so excited to see how this plays out because this could go so many different ways. And starting it off over on Isaac's side by ticking up the tunic to 1, hey, that's a good thing to start with. Ticking up the tunic is fantastic.
Well, we had a conversation prior to this. I think I was talking with Brian Gottlieb about, will there be a missed tunic on the broadcast? And I don't think there has been one up to now. People can probably correct me. If there was a missed tunic, chat, let me know. But there we go. Let's jam that up there. That's the first thing you want to do. Isaak Krut, though, does not make mistakes. This is a player I've played against, and there are no margins for error. But we're going to pitch a blink here, and this is going to come in for just 4.
Yep, swing the hammer for 4. This is no frostbite token. Perhaps content to just set the arsenal, have a crown of seeds, prepare for the onslaught that could be coming from Sasha. And then as Sasha, when you're shown a single blink, you ask the question, okay, do they have a second blink in hand? Are they showing me this first one so that I can have to prepare? Wow, and having a double tome of Aetherwind. That's actually an incredibly painful thing to draw and just get rid of. You know those tomes can do so much work for you. Gonna Kano here. So Kanoing with priority is what I call this. When your opponent is basically conceding that they want to arsenal. Wow, and hitting a Tome of Fjendal off to draw 2 cards, allowing you to possibly just set up what you have coming to you, but also push some free damage because you are getting the reload, essentially, off of... Oh, and a Kanoing again. You're getting to draw up at the end of this turn because it's not your turn. It's Isaac's first turn. Finding a blue Foreboding Bolt, nothing special there. It is just like 1 damage. Allows you to opt.
And he's just tossing it over. Hey, here you go. Here's some reading material while I do all this. Something to keep you occupied, you know?
If he's holding a blue as well, he could pitch the blue, see if he can string together 2 little things, possibly off the top of the deck. You could also there just consider to, he's just going to Crucible Foreboding Bolt for 2.
So Isaak, in this case, is running the Null Rune Boots, and besides that, your only outlet here to really soak some of that arcane damage is going to be the Crown of Seeds, but it's turn 0, so there's no arsenal.
And Foreboding Bolt here does deal 1 damage. It does also opt 1, and looking at the top of the deck is a fantastic little early game just damage done because you can see what you want to draw is what this ends up becoming, which is fantastic to start off with. Of course, you'd love to present a bunch of damage right there, right at the beginning of the game so that you could feel a little bit more comfortable, get those life totals closer. But even just knowing that you're going to draw a specific card may make you feel more comfortable, keeping a single card in hand as well.
All right, so Isaak Krut already passing that first turn and did not have a Starvo activation, so did not really connect with damage. The only thing that he really opted to do here was just to swing with that hammer. Blink, I don't think is going to be that big of a deal right now, but who knows how this is going to shape up as Isaak Krut, that's the first sort of shortcoming here, is that when you're on Starvo against Kano and you have that first turn, you want to start pushing that damage. You want to fuse and make that 30 become something like 23.
Oh, wow. Did he draw into a 3? I thought I saw it earlier, but I couldn't believe it myself. I think his first turn was 3 Tome of Aetherwinds. Absolute painful draw to start off the game with because you want those Aetherwinds to draw you cards later. But here, turning that into an easy full block into 6 damage off of a Voltic Bolt. It's going to take the 6 here. I think you don't try to prevent much of this if you don't have to, simply because it's just vanilla damage. There's no on-hit effect, if you will. It's no deals damage effect there. It's not like an Aether Spindle. So here he's going to get the Starvo activation, and that is what you want to see. He's going to draw up.
This is exactly what you want to see if you're Isaak Krut here. The difference is what is the attack that's coming through, because he hasn't shown you the attack yet.
That's
We've got
right.
a Pulse, and we've got the Ice card. What's the big hit? Crippling Crush!
Wow, a giant dominated Crippling Crush.
Huge. Chesty McGee over here at 13, I believe it is, with the +2. Dominate, go again. You need 2 D12s for this one.
That's not 121, but you kind of feel like it is sometimes. He's going to Kano in response to this. He is completely face up by playing this down. Kanoing here, showing a Sonic Boom, though, answering everything here with just absolute fire of himself. Now, the crazy thing about this is, as Kano, you can look at this just ridiculous attack and go, yeah, that's great, and it's going to probably rip cards from my hand because it is dominated, but I could just pitch them away.
Yeah.
I could just throw my damage at you as well, and then you have to deal with taking a bunch of damage yourself. Now, don't forget, This is going to be followed up with nothing. He has a card in Arsenal, no resource, one resource floating, so he can't follow this up with a swing. So it's just going to be whatever he throws down, and that is a blue Reverberate that he hits off the top. That blue Reverberate could be thrown first to play a card from hand.
So in these cases, I mean, obviously the Okanos, the Crippling Crushes, they're going to peel cards out of your hand, and that's going to be devastating. But the beauty of Kano, obviously, is that before that resolves and before those on-hits occur, you can go ahead and say, I'm just going to give you my whole hand.
Yeah, that's what makes this matchup really interesting, because these on-hit effects are scary for almost everybody. They're almost every class, almost every hero in the game is like, I don't want to lose cards from hand. Kano says, okay, you could try to take the cards, but instead of taking the cards, I'm just going to use them to hit you.
Kano operating in those margins, in those small windows between the main action phases, and here is a Sonic Boom. We're getting things going.
Sonic Boom for 3. He chose not to Crucible this so that he can float one resource. Sonic Boom will hit no matter what. You can Crown of Seeds with like one of those resources, or you can, with that one resource, use a Null Rune. Either way, in either of those plays, it's only stopping one. And so this will deal damage. It will allow him to look at the top of the deck. And we've seen crazy things happen, and we've seen absolute bricks happen off of Sonic Boom in this tournament.
Yeah, well, and keep in mind here is that while all this Kano stuff is going, you still have that Crippling Crush, that Mardi Gras Cannon Grace still floating to be waiting to be resolved, as the Sonic Boom is representing 3, I believe.
Oh, and this is fun. He's indicating that he's going to Crown of Seeds, but you as the Wizard player can take priority before the card is drawn and do more stuff. And he draws into an Oaken Old red.
So that is a great card to draw, assuming that Isaak can then follow up with another Starvo activation. This is, after that first turn, kind of no fireworks, finding a dominated fused Crippling Crush into that feels good.
So finding a blue Aether Flare, it's not the best thing you could possibly hit, but you do have the ability to play that Aether Flare out there for free, and then follow that Aether Flare, which deals 1. Follow that Aether Flare up with a blue Reverberate if you use that final resource. This Aether Flare does cost 1, but it is actually reduced cost because of Sonic Boom, so this could come in for 0 cost and deal 1 damage. You would have loved to have found like a red Scalding Rain or red Aether Flare, something crazy. It's going to pay the resource there, push this for 2, and this card does have the capability of snowballing damage onto other cards that you're playing. And again, keep in mind, there is a Reverberate ready to go.
Now, also keep in mind, at the end of this turn, once this all kind of, once the dust settles and the smoke clears, Sasha is still going to be taking 13 damage.
Yeah.
So as much as Isaak Krut's on the receiving end over here, at the bottom line of this is that Sasha is going to be at 17, and that is a massive chunk. That's good work done by Isaak. And Isaak is still thinking that 13 damage, I wish that was sort of that was coming off the tail of something to start the turn off.
Yeah, and you as Sasha, you want to deal more damage than this when you're being traded, like a ton more. It feels a little uncomfortable to just push these blues out there, because what it also tells you, if you've seen this many blues so far, it also tells you you're going to be drawing into some reds here pretty soon. And so this will push Reverberate for 3. Is going to push some damage, and it's going to push that down to 26, but his hand's empty. There are no blocks on that 13. He's going to take it, like you said, down to 17. He's got an Arsenal card. His turn's going to be nothing.
Well, but he plays everywhere, man. Like this guy, it's just, how does it feel to be so selfish, Sasha, that you got to play on everyone's turn, man? Like
it's just one of those scenarios where you have to think about the turn cycle in a different way, because you're going to take up the tunic and pass. You're not going to present any extra damage, any chip damage, and you have to basically say, do you want a Crown of Seeds or anything like that to fix your hand, and then just draw up and try to defend another big old Oaken Old hand maybe.
So the priority was passed here to Isaak, which on Sasha's turn had the opportunity here to use the Crown of Seeds to cycle.
Oh, wow.
But he finds it. We know there's an Oaken Old in there as well.
This is going to be some just further big damage. This is the game you don't want to play as Sasha, where your opponent goes fuse into fuse into fuse into you're dead. And there's a real chance that comes across, because we have the double fused Oaken Old, the Starvo activation plus the reveal to double fuse. This is going to, again, force cards to the bottom of the deck. It is, again, dominated. It's coming for 11. And this time he has cards to push the hammer for 4 afterwards. And so there's a lot of damage represented on the table right now. And unless you have exactly Wildfire in Arsenal right now, It's not looking very comfortable.
Yeah, this is nasty. Double O Fusion coming in here at 11. Anything tickling through is going to go ahead and peel cards. But again, that's not necessarily always the worry about Kano. Really, the worry about Kano is the fact that you're starting at 30 health, and Guardian hits huge here.
Yes, it hits very hard. Now, you've done good work. You have your opponent to 26. If you can get your opponent a little lower and you can bleed your own life total down, just allow that life to tick down while you apply the same amount of pressure, then you can just get into a scenario where your opponent's stuck and you just have to find like 15 damage. That's not that bad. He's going to block with one card. It looks like there's probably not going to be much in the way of activations here. He is going to tuck 2 of these cards down too because of the activation on Oakenold.
Right, and again, when it comes down to it, it's not necessarily about the Kano player. When they're smelling blood in the water, when they want to close this out, they're going to get back-to-back turns, more or less. They're going to play, and then once the lethal is presented, they're going to have another go at it. So 26, though, like you mentioned, the 14 that you've pushed through already has got to feel good, but Sasha's in a very dangerous spot here. Yeah,
because he's going to slam down the Pulse of Voltaven and then maybe even just push that hammer for 8. And this is almost lethal right here, which is just crazy. Sasha's probably just going to throw down that last card, which looks like a Lesson in Lava in front of that, and just take 5, go to 4, and pass back again. This is that scary outcome that you never wanted to see if you were Sasha. Just strung together, Crippling Crush, Oakenold, Fuses.
Let's walk this back again to the first turn, and that's the importance of Isaak having a fairly punchless first turn, right? Because this is not presenting lethal, but if that hammer swing was something else, if he was able to get anything going there, that could have been this could have been a much more dangerous turn where Sasha would have to start digging for lethal in this perspective.
Well, actually, I think Isaak actually set up on that turn. He arsenaled that Crippling Crush. He kept certain cards in hand so that he could possibly draw into the final element that he needed so he could start this onslaught. And again, if you're playing as someone who's looking down the barrel of a hero with 30 health, this is all you have to do. String together 2 giant attacks, and now Sasha's sitting at 1. He has nothing to do on his turn outside of maybe throwing like a Lesson in Lava with that Spring Tunic, which he's going to do. And outside of that, I mean, that's as low as you can get your opponent before you're basically being asked, do you have 4 blues and an arsenaled Wildfire?
Right.
This early in the game, 2.5 turns in.
Isaak Krut has had immense difficulty converting against Kano in the practice sessions, and the only loss, or the only game against Kano to Alex Vor in the Swiss rounds was also lost. So Isaak was, I would never take it away from Isaak. Isaak is a very confident, very competent player, a very well-seasoned player. I don't think that he's necessarily worried, but this was definitely the matchup that he probably was hoping to dodge, and this was definitely going to be his toughest matchup. And here he is doing his best at putting Sasha up against it.
Oh, so he goes and he grabs the Aether Wildfire, sliding it across the table.
Have a look at this.
Aether Wildfire there, and that's going to go on top of the deck, get drawn, which tells us that the Arsenal card maybe isn't an Aether Wildfire, which is a really bad spot to be in. You don't generally want the Aether Wildfire in your hand on the turn that you go off. You want as many resources as humanly possible to go into your hand, and if he draws into like a quad red hand here, he's dead.
All right, here we go. Again, there's the
a third Starvo in a row.
Great start for the turn for Isaak with 1 health left on Sasha. It is going to be grim. This is basically it for Sasha. Sasha has to convert here. Didn't quite cross halfway through, 24 health left, but we have seen bigger deficits than this overcome by Kano players.
Yeah, this is a very dire moment. This is one of those just horrible feeling moments because you don't have a Tunic resource. You don't have energy potions. Oh, it looks like he does have a yellow card in hand as well. We know he has a Wildfire in hand. You need resources, and you just don't have the resources that you probably want. You may be able to do some tricky stuff with like Ragamuffin's Hat, but can you even get to 24? The Crown of Seeds is up so that you can stop 2 damage. But what can you do?
I gotta say, Isaak Krut drinking water was the most emotion I've ever seen out of him, ever. I'm not even kidding you. I think that I've seen him smile once, possibly on his birthday. that was maybe the only time. This guy is a silent assassin. He just wants to win games, and that's what he does.
He's put himself in a good position to do so right here. Let's see if Sasha can come up with any sort of wizardry at this moment, because this is dominated. There is no way to stop all this damage. He has 1 block in his equipment. He has a block for 3 card, and he's dead. You don't play defense reactions in Wizard. It just takes away from the ability to play off the top of your deck. If you hit a defense reaction, it does nothing. And so literally this is down to just going off, and he's basically going to be doing this blind. He's got 1 blue, so he is going to Kano here. It's a dangerous choice.
Oh, he does not like...
And he sees a Tome of Aether.
There we go.
That was the 1 card pitched early. Remember, he started this game off with 2 tomes being blocked. He had a 3-tome hand. He hits an absolute banger of a card that might just be able to find him a couple of resource cards if he chooses draw 2. Now, the other option here is if he does happen to have another blue in hand, maybe he can count up with Aether Wildfire by giving like a draw card and a +1 buff. But no, he's just going to do the draw 2 cards here, and that could draw him into blues. Now, he needs these blues to hit.
This was pitched on Sasha's first turn.
Oh, it looks like he was rubbing for good luck to try and get some blues. Not sure if he got what he needed.
9 dominated attack presented to Sasha. No way to come out of this on top unless you bring Isaak to 0.
This is the last turn of the game. No questions asked. It doesn't matter how you break it. One of these players will die right here.
And this is, again, we've seen this so many times. It's like Isaac's just waiting for the bus now. It either drives past him or it picks him up into the semifinals. And look at him. He's just, all right, all I can do. I don't even need to read the cards. Just explain to me what's going on. This is the last piece of cardboard I'm presenting you. It either wins me the game or it doesn't. Isaak is probably the best position he's been in against Kano all weekend.
Most likely counting the ratios in the deck right there, looking at what's been drawn, what's been used to block. All 3 tomes in this early of the game. Absolute craziness as far as the variance and the shuffling of the deck is concerned. That's not how you want this to go, but managing to hit that tome right there is so critical.
But be real. I mean, those 2 of those tomes were used as defense in the first turn to protect against the hammer swing.
For sure, and it's one of those things too, where like, I mean, if you had a 3-tome hand, you're looking at that like, well, I can't make any use of this. I could play 1 on my turn, but then I have to play a bunch of blues to get stuff off the top. And at that point, it's fine to block with maybe 1 or 2 of them, but to see all 3 in one moment is a very strange variance moment, and it forced him to. I use them to block and try to get blues into his hand. He did draw a blue off of there. What does he flip over?
Yeah.
Oh my God! He
goodness.
reveals a wildfire. Now he has 1 in hand. He has 1 banished. But does he have the resources to play both of them? Because if you do, and you can somehow get somewhere with some other card, you might be able to string this together. Wildfire into wildfire can do absurd damage.
Like, he's drawing the cards. He's like rubbing a lamp, hoping a genie will pop out, granting him a wish, and that might be that wish granted with that Aether Wildfire.
The issue here, and this looks crazy, but the issue here is that it's so incredibly expensive that it's just very hard to actually go wildfire. You need 4 resources. You don't have a tunic. You don't have an E-pot. That is so incredibly expensive to actually be able to string this together, plus 1 more thing, and use the boots. It may still just be asking too much.
Isaak Krut observing, a spectator here, waiting for his fate, at the mercy of Kano. Sasha trying to piece this together.
I mean, Isaac's on the cusp of moving into the semifinals. He's got the attack. It's sitting in front of him.
Everything's there. Everything's lined up.
He's ready to go and play a top 4 matchup and maybe push himself to the finals. And it's literally up to whether or not Sasha can go wildfire into something.
I got to say, this is equally as agonizing for both players. I mean, Sasha here has to piece this together. It is incredibly a puzzle. You've mentioned, many people talk about this, about just the sheer satisfaction about playing Kano is not just about slinging spells and going full Gandalf on them. This is all about more so just this, like, puzzle solving.
Yeah.
It's trying to figure out how you can get to the finish line. For Isaak, it's the other opposite. It's like, here's lethal. And I just have to wait for you to figure this out. Can you do it? This is so tough for Isaak because this is his toughest matchup, and he's got there. But will he, will Sasha just burst past him? It is such a tough place to be. Isaak can only wait and look.
Yep, he's going to pitch the yellow. No, he's got another blue perhaps pitching. No, he's getting rid of the Aether Wildfire. That is the only pitch. He was holding 2 there. He's going to Kano there. And he's showing you he had all 3 Wildfires in circulation there. He's going to Ragamuffin's Hat in response to the Kano activation. He has a 1-card hand left. And you can see why this is so painful for him. He had 2 reds, a yellow, and a blue. And then he lucked into drawing the blue off of the Tome of Aetherwind. He's going to a Blazing. Is there any way that this can snake together? I'm not sure if that's enough, but he is going to be able to present some amount of damage. This is absolutely nail-biting.
And like every card that's peeled off the top is just more bad news for Isaak because he's so close yet possibly so far.
He's only got 1 card in hand.
Again, this comes back to the importance of blues and that balance, Stephen. We were talking about this in previous Kano matches that, having the right amount and finding that balance because nothing hurts more than drawing the wrong color card that you're looking for.
Pitching here, is that okay, so he is floating 1 resource. He's presenting 5. Does he Metacarpus node here? He could also be sitting on a Snapback and Arsenal. If that's a Snapback and Arsenal, this could be disgusting.
All right, activation of Crown of Seeds. It's the only other way that you can soak up some of that arcane damage. You do have Null Rune Boots, which he's going to go ahead and do. Again, Aether Wildfire is the first domino to fall. That's the one that...
It presents 3, and 3 is probably not going to cut it. This is getting really close. Unless he's got something crazy, just going to throw down that Blazing Aether. That's only going to present 6.
All right. It's on the way. We're going to go ahead and, again...
Stopping there, pushing
soak up
5.
Some more damage. All right, so you're going to see the life total start chipping away. It looks like Sasha kind of has an avenue. He's seeing the path to victory here.
I think that's his last opportunity here to just slam down something, and it's a second Blazing. Is that going to be enough? It's presenting 12, and I don't think that is. I think it's just falling short. Double Blazing isn't able to get there in the end, and that big old dominated Evergreen that's been sitting there for a few minutes now, you can throw one block there, and it's just not going to do it. Wizards make it into the top 8, not quite able to convert into the top 4. And instead, we're seeing Starvo make the cut into that top 4, and a Briar also cutting in. A big, big turnaround. There was a lot of talk and a lot of hype and a lot of danger in that Kano's cutting into that top 8 because who's going to be able to stop all that arcane damage? But this is the danger of Kano is sometimes you just run into those situations, and sometimes your opponent just goes Fused Crippling Crush, Fused Oakenold. You're dead.
All right. You want to see my impression of Isaak Krut celebrating this big win? Ready? Here it comes. Ready?